Yo, what's going on, Pete's man? What is going on? Now, apologies, genuinely apologies. Let's change that overlay. There we go. Yeah, I completely forgot that this was set actually for what do you call it? For a live. In my mind, this was a video that I was gonna, yeah, I was gonna do at another date. So yeah, that's my bad. That is actually my bad. Now, big up to everybody. Big up, big up. I just see that news as well. Literally as I was looking at my phone, I was thinking, I can see a message on my thing, but like, how can someone see my video? And then I see Morris, big up Honesty, big up everybody else who was in the building at the time. Yeah, I just see the thing and I was just like, bro, why are these lot talking about stream? And I'm thinking, yeah. But listen, I won't make this too long anyway. I know that Ends and Cal, big up Ends. I know Ends and Cal are going to be going live very, very soon. So yeah, I'll end up just redirecting over to those guys once this conversation is obviously finished. As it says, Liverpool season is over. It's done. Like we are finito. we are finished, as the thumbnail said, right? And I think when I'm thinking about it, and I was, thinking about this yesterday on the watch along with Ends as well, I just remember thinking to myself, bro, like now that the season is over, obviously there is that kind of, well, now what? Because what we had before with Liverpool, big up everybody else in the chat, man. Big up, honestly. Hugo out till Christmas. Yeah, look, bro, don't worry, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. They're when Arne Slot lost the 9 in 12 and Liverpool were absolutely just on the floor rubbish, right? When that happened, there was nothing. You know what I mean? And everyone was like, nah, give it time, you'll get through this. Da-da-da-da-da. Cool. Then he went, I think it was like 20 or 15 to however many games, and then he obviously reached, like, he just didn't lose. He was drawing a lot of games, but he just didn't lose, right? Liverpool obviously didn't sack. They done the round table. So once he'd done the round table, obviously that was almost like a sign of, would I say, yeah, that was almost like a sign of like, okay, you know what, we really back this guy. We really believe that this guy is going to be the guy moving forward. We really believe that this manager, you know what I mean, like everything that's obviously happened, obviously things that have been out of our control have obviously happened, prior to the season starting, etc., etc. We back this manager. You don't do a round table, I promise you that. You don't do a round table unless you really trust in the guy. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that's not something that you would just willy-nilly do. And I feel like they almost tried to read the room. And it was almost that at the time, anyway, I can't speak for now, but at the time, it was almost like, yo, listen, guys, we understand. Obviously, things don't look too great, etc., etc. But boom, you know what I mean? This is what we're going to do. Now you're in this position. You're out of the FA Cup. You're knocked out of the League Cup. You've now finally been knocked out of the Champions League. If it wasn't for the fact that there was 5 teams allowed to qualify for the Champions League, you wouldn't be allowed in the Champions League, you know what I mean, like next season, in terms of your actual, where you actually going to finish. Because obviously Liverpool are currently sitting in 5th. So it's like, now what? Like, I like, for me, I'm just like, bro, you missed the boat when it was time to sack him. Now we're just here. It just seems like it's all just a little bit like, do you get what I mean? Like, big up Liz, big up Trudon, big up M Town Mizzy. It just seems, yeah, to me, it literally just seems like all a bit of a like, okay, fairs. You know what I mean? Like, if we sack him, we sack him. If we don't sack him, we don't sack him. Like, it's really not going to be, you know what I mean? Like that deep, regardless, kind of thing. So, yeah, like honestly, it's mad, it's mad. But yeah, as you guys are obviously saying, the news with Hugo Ekatike. Let me get up here actually. Um, let's see. Hugo. That is a bit peak though. I can't even lie. That is a little bit peak. I cannot lie. Share that window, mate. You know what I mean? Let's make that. There we go. Yeah, Hugo Ekatike obviously has ruptured his right Achilles tendon. He's set for 9-month spell on the sideline. That's so mad because I did not think it was a I didn't think it was that mad. Obviously I knew it was crazy. I just didn't think it was that crazy. Like that's actually mad. For you to have gone, yeah. Apologies. But yeah, nah. Ekatike, man. My bad, boy. My bad. That's and the worst thing about like, sorry, not the worst thing, sorry. For him, obviously, that is the worst thing. Obviously, he had a World Cup coming up. And I remember saying to my boy yesterday, I was like, you know what, it's peak. Like, just as you know what I mean, he's getting into the work, like into the team and all that kind of stuff. Now, boom. You get what I'm saying? Like now he can't make the World Cup kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, that's a bit peak for him, man. It's a bit peak for him. We don't even do, no, we don't. we don't. I just hope Ekatike's career isn't derailed by this. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Again, this is what I was talking about with my boy. I was saying, because I was talking about Isak, to be fair, right? And I was saying, remember Torres when he was here, on fire, and then you just went through this kind of like after, like it was like injuries, little niggles here, and little things happen, and then yeah, then you just turn it into whatever. Yeah, someone like Ekatike, I just hope that this doesn't derail him in a way where what he used to be, he then isn't that anymore, because after certain injuries and that, you don't feel like you can maybe run on it. Obviously he's a slight person. Is he going to be someone who's going to then start putting on weight? Is he going to be someone who puts on strength? Is he going to be someone who maybe changes the way that he does certain things? Obviously that injury is just a freak injury, so it's not like he necessarily needs to change his ways. But I know with injuries, you've seen with players before, and even if you've played football before, you've done anything in life, right? Just think, when you've had an injury, like a really long-term injury, there's certain things afterwards that you're like, oh, you know what? Sometimes I don't even run for the bus, because if I start running for the bus now, it's all long. Sometimes I don't even, when I try to swivel or whatever to go and do whatever, I don't even do that anymore because I hear a click. You know what I mean? It's little things like that. That's why I'm like, that's gonna be peak for Ekatike. But listen, he's young, man, so hopefully he'll be fine. Yeah, as you say here, social, like hopefully he'll be just calm, and he can just kind of run his rhythm. I ruptured my Achilles 10 years ago. Got NHS surgery, but you're lucky. These times I'm still waiting to get my wisdom tooth out. And we'll get the best in modern. So yeah, of course. Come on, these guys are professional, play for Liverpool. They're going to have the highest of the highest. The rehab is key to the recovery, and it's actually a year. So 9 months. So you're saying maybe even after the 9 months, it will still be a further 3 months before, he actually fully gets back. Yeah, that's going to be peak. That is definitely going to be peak for him, man. Like I said, I feel sorry for him, man. I feel sorry for him because, especially like when you're looking at the landscape, Isak, we don't really know, is he? Yeah, I mean, like they're I'd say question marks, but there's this kind of like, all right, cool, yeah. Really, it's going to be Eki who's going to start, for example, right? I guess that's the way everybody kind of looked at it, but yeah. James Pierce was just, I'm going to just run through a bit of this news with you guys actually, because I actually find some of this kind of hilarious. You got James Pierce here saying, not to say you trust James Pierce or whatever, but he's saying Mamadashvili, whose kicking is especially is a big concern, continues to look a big downgrade on Alisson. I know Savage doesn't like him, and Savage has been saying that from before he even joined, to be fair to Sav. So I'll give him that. I didn't like. I mean, I was a bit like, nah, man. Like, I mean, he's calm. He's this. He's that. But yeah, at this point, it's yeah. Did you see Drifty's crash out on Verts? Things I like this. No, bro. Let's talk about it for 2 seconds. In fact, no. Actually, let me go to Why am I writing in caps? See, I'm moving like ends and that. Why am I writing all in caps and that? That's silly. These times I got my glasses on. Yeah, see, I'm looking at what these guys are saying, right? It's only 9 months to start exercising, but it's 1 year to get back. You have to balance your body, you lose muscle in your quads, have to rebuild your calf muscle and balance your body. Yeah, this Hussam lookalike, ain't it? Turkish barber in goal. That is crazy. True done. Allow him, bro. Allow him. That's mad. Arnold Slot on the summer transfer plans. We have to sell to. Okay, is that what he said? I don't know if I'm allowed to play this. I'm not going to play it just for copyright reasons. I don't want to get these lot. So We're saying, so he's saying, so Slot actually, I guess, you know what, Enz is going to probably talk about. Let me not even talk about all of that. When Enz does his stream, I'm going to jump on over there and he'll probably rap about this anyway. So I'll probably wrap this up in the next 10 minutes anyway, guys. So you'll be able to head on over there. Obviously, Paul Joyce talking about the Hugo on Wednesday and if he has suffered in the blah, blah, blah. Just woke up and remember Mo and whatever. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's looking peak, man. Let's see if we can add new players after selling some good players this summer. Let's see if we can add new players after selling some good players. Why did I put emphasis on after? Maybe it's just because the way I read it, guys, right? So let's see if we can add new players after selling some good players this summer. So Liverpool, okay. Yeah. You know what? Like I said, I'll leave it to Enz. He'll probably rap about this. I'm more than sure. That's interesting though. That's interesting. But yeah, anything Liverpool, they're saying, yeah, we need to buy a striker in the summer if Hugo Ekitike is obviously going to be out. And now, Liz, you're 100%. This is why. But you know what's crazy, Liz? Yeah, you're right. We can't have nice things. But you know what's mad? I was thinking about this. Me and Sav were talking about this at the beginning of the season, right? And in the summer, and we were talking about how yeah, don't worry, we're going to talk about him in a second. We was talking about how like it wasn't so much about how Liverpool weren't trying to like sign these players. It was just more about being in the conversation. So, and again, when you're talking about being in the conversation, if you're going to spend 116 million on Florian Wirtz, 130 million on Alexander Isak, obviously 70 or whatever it was on Ekitike, and then obviously, you know, buy Frimpong and buy Kirkes and all, you're going to spend all of this money, right? If you're going to do that, you're going to need to start spending money on players that are actually at that kind of level. Do you get what I'm saying? Like if you're gonna spend 116 million on a player, I'm sorry, but you're going to need to sign a player who is ready today. So when we're talking, Gravenberg, yeah. When you're talking about Florian Wirtz as an example, I'm looking at it on the face of it, and I'm like, come on. Now, I'm not saying Florian Wirtz is a bad. Forget even the video I did. It's not even necessarily, I'm not saying Florian Wirtz is a bad player. He's not a bad player. Let's not even do that. He's not a bad player. He is a talented individual. And I do think, had he been put in a Manchester City team, I feel that he'd be a lot better, right? I feel like he'd be at least operating better than he is currently. Obviously, he's in Liverpool's team under this manager with these players. That's, you know, it's going to be, it is what it is kind of situation. But I was thinking about this last night. I was literally sitting there, you know, like an old man, and I was sipping tea. And I was just outside and I was just like, with Florian Wirtz, he almost seems like a player that at this stage of his career, I almost feel like his next step had to be playing with like some supreme ballers, obviously under a good manager, but I feel like he needed to play with like real, he just needed real quality around him and he needed more people on his kind of wavelength. Unfortunately, for me, in my opinion, he don't have that at Liverpool and he was never going to have that at Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool have that type of players anyway. So now that he's here, it's almost like he sticks out like a sore thumb almost because you're so head and shoulders above everybody in terms of like a technical standpoint, in terms of the things that you're trying to do. No one's really on your wavelength. Yeah, Ekitike, yeah, cool. But that's just, do you know what I mean? It's almost like not forced because they did generally seem like they understood each other. But there is that kind of like, yeah, but you probably needed it still a little bit better. Why is it when you go away with Germany, all of a sudden you just look crazy? Do you get what I'm saying? Again, you're around probably better quality in player in certain areas anyway. And you obviously got that kind of freedom under the manager. So, yeah, I look at him and I just think to myself, for 116 million, I'm sorry. I'm not even saying it was bad, by the way, yesterday. I'm actually not. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I thought he was poor. But it's not even about that. It's like, if you're saying Drifty had that crash out, I don't blame him because I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, but like, what? I need people to just understand, right? You spent 116 million. What do you expect? I'll even ask everybody that. What do you guys expect when your team spends that kind of money, right? And especially then take into context, you're also not a team that spends that kind of money anyway. Did you get what I'm saying? You're actually not that type of team who spends that kind of squalor. So if you're not that type of team that spends that kind of bread, and your team finally does spend that kind of money, aren't you not going to be, do you know what I mean? Like asking for a little bit more. You're going to be asking, hey, guys, come on. You know what I mean? Like, we need you to kind of, do a little bit more, if I'm being totally honest with you. And I feel like I understand it's the first season. I understand that it's a new league. I understand it's a new team. I understand all of that. I really do understand that. But I'm sorry, bro. You cost way too much money for me to just be like, yeah, even though Liverpool shit, I'm just gonna kind of bypass all of that. What do you mean bypass? 160 minutes, but you need to be above the tactics. Like you need to be above the manager. Like, because the club felt that you were that good. The club felt like, nah, he's actually that good. Like he's actually that good that we need to, you know what I'm saying? We need to fork out that kind of money. He's on Kevin De Bruyne level when Kevin De Bruyne was on his prime. That's why we spent that. No, he was never at that level. So in my mind, I was like, surely Liverpool, you might as well just go and sign like a Morgan Rogers or I don't know, like other number 10s, but or just sign a midfielder. Did you get what I'm saying? Like just sign someone else kind of thing. Because it almost feels like you didn't need him. Now, I'm not saying, again, I just want to reiterate and caveat, I'm also not saying that he's not going to be good in the future or that he can't be good under a different manager. It's not even about that. But now, if a new manager were to come in, my expectation level for him is going to be through the roof now. Because now you have no excuse. Second season, different manager. You can't, I can't even, like, what excuse can I now give you? Oh, yeah, but it's a new manager. He needs to, bro, it was the same thing before. Do you get what I'm saying? So if a new manager does come in, bro, like my expectations for you is I need you on Ballon d'Or level. I'm going to be on that. And that's me. Yeah, people might say, yeah, you're a bit over exaggerating, blah, blah, blah. Nah, I'm going to need, bro, you spent 116 million. We laugh at Chelsea for spending money like this. We laughed at Manchester United for spending money like this. We can't now be hypocrites. Do you get what I'm saying? We can't be hypocrites and now start saying, yeah, but gee, we need to, we need to just, take time. And no. There is no taking time with this, bro. There is no taking time with this. You got to just, you got to do this now. Did you get what I'm trying to say? So yeah, that's just where I'm at with someone like a Florian Wirtz. Again, it's not all on him. We're not gonna do the campaign like, oh, it's all his fault and Red Tech. No. It ain't nothing to do with that. It got nothing to do with that. This is more my own expectations. I'm not telling anybody else to have the same level of expectation. I'm saying what mine is. And for me, I'm like, I said at the beginning of the season, I was like, yeah, I need to see something. Did you get what I'm saying? For me to rate you, I'm going to need to see something. Or you're going to need to look so different on the pitch where I'm like, yeah, you know what? This guy he's really on job. He's really, really on job. Yeah. Another awkward convo. Liverpool not a team for a number 10. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is why I said Liverpool as a club, as an institution, since I've been watching Liverpool since 1996, 97, whenever Owen made his debut. From then till now, Liverpool don't do number 10s. They don't. Some have tried to come in, Coutinho, but guess what? Coutinho ended up getting moved into a different position. Why? Because Liverpool don't play. Liverpool, the best that Liverpool can do in terms of a number 10 is used like a Bobby and it has to be a false 9. Do you get what I'm trying to? It has to be something like that. Or we got to play with 2 strikers. And the 2 strikers got to be like Owen and Heskey. Do you get what I'm saying? Or, of course, you're going to play with 3. But, yeah, it's either 2 strikers, and it has to be done like an Owen and Heskey, or it's got to be, obviously, the 3. But, again, when it's the 3, you're going to have, obviously, your false 9, and then you're going to need, like, your 2 wide players, obviously, in today's day and age. Or, yeah, that's it. We can't really do 10s. So, when we signed him, I know this is all hindsight and stuff like that. I get it, because had he ripped up the league, it'd be like, right. But he would have just surprised me more than anything. Well, it shows Liverpool, so I'm expecting more desire in his play. He does the bare minimum. Yeah, man, it's a little bit like just going through the motions a bit, man. It's not really, like I said, it's just not for me. It's just not for me. And I ain't saying that no one else can't, you know what I mean, think of whatever. But yeah, it's just one of those, man. Eesh. Achilles tendon rupture. This is from Kimpembe. Hey, is that the kind of right down the back? That's mad. That's mad. This person's got up here, yeah. Isak for 130 million, broken leg. Ekatike, 80 million, ruptured Achilles. Jacquet, broken shoulder. Obviously, that wasn't here. Frimpong, reoccurring hamstring. Leone, torn his ACL. Yeah, listen, what I'm saying. Liz, you were right. Liverpool can't have nice things. Do you know what I'm saying? We just got to keep it. Yeah, we just got to keep it humble. we've literally just got to keep it humble. But yeah, no, I'm just, like I said, I'm just looking at it because I wanted to know really and truly just how people. Obviously, I know people are not changing their minds on Arne Slot or anything like that. It was more just that. It's good thing you guys ain't on my timeline right now. It was just more about. It was just more about like, now what do you do? Like, where do you kind of go from here as a football club? Like, what are you trying to achieve this season? Like I say, obviously, like you almost missed the boat where you could have just sacked him. But like I said, the season's now done. Like, I'm sorry, like there is nothing to actually play for. We can do the whole top four thing, and obviously that in itself is an achievement. But it's more like that's just a requirement, if that makes sense. Like, as in, I'm not. That's not something I'm gonna even look at. That's just no. You were just like, yeah, you were supposed to make the top four. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were supposed to be here. Like, you weren't supposed to be out here battling. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, no. We need to. Being in the Champions League should just be a foregone conclusion. I know people don't want to see it like that because obviously you don't want to get too big headed or anything like that. But not in the Champions League. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is actually mad. So yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I just want to know what Liverpool are gonna do moving forward, and then take it from there. Take it from there. But now, Social Joins was right, man. It's going to be an awkward conversation, and I think over the next couple of days, I feel like that's going to be more of the conversation. And we're listen, between now and Liverpool got Derby. I'm sure these lot were saying Liverpool playing. Let me check. Liverpool playing against Everton at the weekend. Yeah, sure it's Everton. Yeah, Everton away. So it's going to be a little bit. Yeah, if Liverpool don't win that game, pressure just ranks up. Bearing in mind, you just got knocked out of the FA Cup as well, and then you get knocked. Like, it's all kind of close to each other. I don't even know what the coach is trying to do other than phase out old guard players. The thing is, so I was saying this, and I'll say this before I go. One of the things I mentioned, yes, I was talking to my boy about managers. Yeah, you know, sometimes certain managers, obviously, you don't know at the time, but once they've left, you understand. Certain managers will come in and they're only in to do a certain thing. So, prime example, when you had when Fergie left, obviously they got in David Moyes straight away, kind of thing, right? There was no one really to almost like bridge the gap. So, for example, how Liverpool done it is probably the best way, so to speak, right? Just before your obviously Klopp left in that season, obviously we didn't know, so fair enough, right? It's hindsight at this point. But when I'm thinking about it, had Sir Alex Ferguson in his last season, I think he won the Premier League, right? In that season, he should have had a different manager. He should then he could have got in a David Moyes because that team was still used to winning, right? And he didn't need to then go sign this player, sign that player. He could have just won with that team, right? It was a poor team, but just think back. Could have just won with that team, and then you can kind of continue. Then after that, whether he wins or not, or you get a new manager because he sucks or whatever, it's calm. But you almost needed someone to like bridge the gap to the next thing, because then at that period of time, you phase out Rio, you phase out Vidget, you phase out whoever else was there at the time. You phase out all of that old guard. You've won with them. You've got that credibility, obviously, in the bank. You can then kind of push forward. So Frank Lampard, when he came in at Chelsea at the time, it was, I'm going to blood in the youngsters. Obviously, I know they had the transfer ban, but I'm going to blood in the youngsters. I'm going to push these players towards whatever kind of thing. Tammy Abraham, who was Mason Mount, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Reece James, the like all of these players, right? He can blood those kind of players in. Now, right now, he's doing obviously really well with Coventry, but yeah, he ends up leaving, blah, blah, blah. Chelsea now obviously go through these succession of managers, Tuchel, Maresca, and now obviously Liam Rossini and Pochettino, obviously in that time, right? But certain managers come into, it's almost like they play a part within your team's kind of history. Like, they would anyway, but certain managers can play a real specific role. And I feel like where Arne Slot obviously had that kind of job of, you did have to phase out the old guard. I'm not going to say that would have been easy, because you had to phase out the likes of Van Dijk, the likes of Salahs, Alissons, Robertsons, Trent obviously leaving and whatnot, right? That wasn't going to be easy for anybody, because it then meant, well, the next set of players that you get in, they almost have to be at these lots level from the jump. And once they get to these lots level from the jump, it will be an easier transition. The problem is you ended up kind of replacing or trying to phase these players out. And what Liverpool have almost done is you've almost done it in a way where it's just like you've got players who still need the old guard there. They still need Van Dijk. They still need Mo Salah to just be there for the time being and help them through everything. Whereas other teams, like I have to look at Manchester City because they're probably best at doing it. You had Rodri and Fernandinho, like obviously Fernandinho there first. Rodri then comes, I think, like a season or two later. And then obviously they're there together for a couple of seasons, I think it is. And then obviously Rodri. In that kind of period of time, Fernandinho was still not dead, if that kind of makes sense. In the time when Rodri and Fernandinho were at the club at the same time, I think, yeah, I'm sure they were at the club at the same time. So in that time, Fernandinho still wasn't dead, and Rodri still wasn't ready. Did you get what I'm saying? Like he still had enough to be able to, okay, yeah, nah, you know what? When it's my time, it's my time, and we can do that whole phasing out. And then once that happens, it almost just felt like it was natural. Even Phil Foden, when he come into the team, and everyone was talking about him replacing David Silva, it was almost that kind of natural essence of it, kind of thing. It was like, yeah, cool. And again, that's how I'm almost looking at it. But with Liverpool, it's just like you look at the centre back situation. I mean, you got Konate, Gomez. Did he come off? I think he came off injured, or I'm sure he's injured. I don't know. He's always injured. If not, so you got Gomez there. You got Konate. You got obviously Virgil van Dijk. Now, Konate obviously calm. If he stays, then you're like, okay, calm. As long as he stays. Leone obviously got to come back from injury. Gomez is always injured. Xhaka just got himself injured, but cool, he's going to come in as well. I don't know many teams that are going to have two 20-year-olds as their set, or 21-year-olds, however. I'm sure they're like 20. I don't know many teams that have such young centre backs and do well. You see how Barcelona are with Kubasi and thing, and I love Kubasi. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's one of the best young players actually out there. Really, 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 really good. But you need you need in Martinez that he had last season. You need some level of like experience next to you, kind of thing. So having those two young bulls, I'm like, I don't really know how that's going to work. Maybe Liverpool even move to a 3. Again, if Konate stays, then it can maybe change things. But getting in Guehi would have been very important. Getting in Guehi and getting in a Xhaka, okay, that makes a bit of sense to me in my brain, kind of thing. But when you don't do that, it's a bit like, you then look at the striker situation. Obviously, if Arne Slot stays, obviously, if he stays, we'll talk about that, because I think it's going to mean different things for different players. But if Arne Slot were to stay, let's just think in the realm of he's actually obviously still here. If he stays, I'm wondering, okay, what did that even look like with like an Isak? Because right now, Isak don't even look like he can play under this manager in terms of whatever the manager's asking him to do. I don't really know, but it just doesn't feel like he can play under this kind of manager. Did you get what I'm saying? Now you're saying, okay, what kind of wide players does he want? Because the wide players that he's already got outside of Rio, and I don't even think Rio is someone that he kind of really thought about. It's just more, Rio's more off the cuff. Now, what does that look like? Did you get what I'm saying? Then you're looking at the midfield. The midfield, I don't even think he likes the midfield the way it is. How about that? I don't even think he likes the midfield like that way. So as the title of the thing says, the thumbnail, Liverpool are finished. You know what I'm saying? Because now how much money are you going to spend? He's talking about Liverpool need to sell to buy him. Who are Liverpool selling? If anyone in the chat can tell me, who can Liverpool sell in order to buy? To me, that's crazy. If that's what Liverpool are going to have to end up doing. Which player impresses you outside La Liga and Prem this season? Thoughts? Do you know what? Nico Paz would definitely be up there. I think he's been brilliant for Como. Como been really good anyway this season, but he's been really, really good. I think he's been obviously a standout for them. If I had to think of another player, obviously, I mean, you're looking at Elise. I would say he's really impressed me. I think he's taken his game up another level, another notch. Harry Kane has actually really impressed me, to be fair. Who else is out there that I really like? You know what? I won't go there. I'll go with Nico Paz. Like, I would want to sign him, but I understand his positioning, and I'm pretty sure he's going back to Real Madrid anyway. So, yeah, he might not be someone that I feel Liverpool probably would go in for, but he's my type of player, though. Again, I feel like he's one of those players that he's elegant enough and he's good enough on the ball and, all of that kind of good stuff, right? But he's also got this kind of, I don't know how to explain it. He's almost got this kind of, the only way I can explain it is like Rodri. Now, Rodri doesn't look like your typical tiki-taka Spanish type of midfielder where they're small and nimble and, do you know what I mean? They're all these kind of players. He don't look like that low center of gravity type of guys, right? But when he plays like it though. Even though he's a lot taller, he can gallop across the pitch, he can glide across the pitch, he can still play that. Nico Paz reminds me of something like that, where I'm like, you're so good in those pockets of spaces, but it's almost like it doesn't look natural. Yeah, do you get what I'm saying? But you make it look almost natural because of the way that you play, because of the things that you can obviously do and stuff like that. So, yeah, Nico Paz, he's definitely a player. I think if he weren't, I'm sure he's going back to Real Madrid. But if he wasn't, I feel like a lot of people, do you know what I mean, would be after him. But listen, man, we'll talk more over the next coming days anyway. Obviously, like I said, I know Liverpool got the game against Everton. I think that's going to be very, very interesting. What will happen, I don't really know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, Salah cancelling his contract, blew up Paul's selling plan, Salah payback for disrespect in his view. Yeah, maybe. Salah definitely ain't looking at this situation and thinking, yeah, I'm definitely ain't trying to be part of this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't definitely trying to not be part of this. If Spurs get relegated, would you take Vuskic on loan at Bundesliga? No, because I just don't feel like Liverpool need him. But again, again, some of the questions that's going to be, should be asked, and I know they won't be answered, is what is the direction moving forward for this football club? What does this look like? And I'll leave that with you guys here. What does the direction of the football club look like moving forward? Did you get what I'm saying? Like, how does that look to everybody? How does that look to the football club? A lot of questions, man. A lot of questions. Big up, everybody. As I said, obviously, I know Ends is live with Cal. I'm gonna hop on over there in a second, and so he's there with the man them. So yeah, no, big up to everybody. Again, apologies that I didn't obviously start the stream earlier. Keep your notification bells on. I will be doing a few more streams this week. I've actually got a bit of free time. So yeah, make sure you guys obviously smash the like button, shop. My link is in the description, I believe. And subscribe, man. Subscribe. And I'll catch you guys soon, man. Watch out for it. Peace.